So thank you for coming down.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And on the day of the open,
I know.
are you ready for the workout?
I'm never ready. I was just texting with a girlfriend of mine that we started CrossFit together back in the day. And I was just telling, and we used to compete, or she still does. But I haven't competed in CrossFit for 9 years and I still feel the anxiety and the butterflies. And I'm like, I don't even care, but I do.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. 9 years.
Yeah.
That's how long you've been doing CrossFit?
No, I've been doing CrossFit since 2008. So what is that? 17?
Yeah.
Is that 17 years?
Yeah.
But I started off with CrossFit and pretty quickly got into the competition side of it and got to participate in the CrossFit Games a couple of times. And it was in 2016 that I finally was like, okay, I'm not going to go for that anymore. I'm not going to keep training all day long. I'm not going to put myself through that. So it's been since 2016 now. All the opens that I participate in are just like everyone else, just for fun of it, see how I'm doing, test my fitness. And it still gets me though.
Yeah. Well, it's probably because of that old competition, right? Like that's something that gets
You can't turn that.
No. When you did the games, was it at the ranch?
One of them was at the ranch in 2009. And then I qualified in 2011. And that was their second year down in Carson, Southern California.
Yep.
It was the then Home Depot Center. I don't even know what it's called now.
Was that the first year it was in Carson?
Second. So in 2010, it was there. And then in 2011 was the first year Reebok was the title sponsor. And it was again at that same stadium. So, or facility, it's the whole thing.
That's awesome. That was the one and only CrossFit Games I went to.
11?
Yeah.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah. And I was thinking to myself,
what'd you think?
It was so hot. I felt so bad for all the competitors. Like it was hot for me just to walk around, just to view all the sports.
It was.
And I'm looking at you guys going, wait, so not only is it a test of fitness, but it's also enduring this incredible heat while you're being super fit.
And I think that affected people differently. I don't have a memory of like the heat affecting me in the sense of like negatively, the workouts affected me negatively.
Yeah.
But also I was training and living in LA at the time. So that was a really short drive for me
and you were used to that climate.
Yeah, we were exactly. And where I was living and training in LA was in the valley. So it gets a lot hotter there than the coast.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of a normal temperature to be training outside.
Yeah.
And we would even train that way. We knew there was going to be outside workouts. So we would do a lot of our training in the heat.
Yeah.
So.
Smart. Going to the games. That was so fun. I cannot wait to go back one of these days.
Yeah.
It's now out of Wisconsin.
It was, and then it went to Texas and now it's going to New York.
Is that where it is?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
This is the first year it'll be out in Albany, New York. They announced that not too long ago. So it's still pretty new information. And new spot.
Do you go every year?
I'm supposed to as an employee of CrossFit, but it has been a really hectic time of year for me. It's typically that first week of August.
Yep.
And it's usually like a 9+ day commitment for employees because of setup and tear down and just also flight availability. They kind of have to go with what they can get. So I think a lot of times it's been for some people like a Monday to a Monday or somewhere in that range. So it's fallen right around the time where I've had family commitments for the last. So I've been an employee of CrossFit in the affiliate owner side of things since 22. And so those would be the years that they requested me to be there, 22, 23, 24. And then I'm sure I'll be getting the email soon about 25. And each of those years, my kids have been in their national softball tournament. And so it's kind of tricky to leave for that.
That's kind of more important.
Yeah. And thankfully my team and my manager are super flexible about it. They have plenty of manpower.
Yeah.
It's more about, as you said, you like to go and experience it. Well, a lot of affiliate owners like to do that. And so it's a good place to meet and chat with owners, which is part of my job on the daily.
Yeah.
And so they like to have us there, but I don't know yet if I'll be able to make it this year. But I would like to go back at some point.
Yeah. Well, and it's so cool because it's like its own world, all the booths, all the vendors, all the people,
like a festival.
It's kind of intimidating. Like you walk around and you're like, damn, I thought I was
everyone's
fit, but I am not that fit compared to like what I'm seeing.
You can't tell if anyone's a competitor or not because everyone's just wearing workout clothes the whole time,
which is awesome.
But yeah, it's very fun.
Yeah. And the food's all healthy, like the food trucks and everything. It's all healthy.
It's amazing. You're like, can't this be the fair and like at the concerts we go to and all that?
Totally. Can this be the norm everywhere we go?
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk to me about, you were my one of my persons when I did my L1 training the first time, you and Zach, who's also local.
Yeah.
And you are fantastic at what you do. You were,
Oh, thank you.
demonstrating the movements, and you're, giving us a different direction. What's your favorite part about doing the seminars and getting people like trained or certified?
One of the cool things is down the line when someone says you were at my seminar, and I'm like, oh, wow, there's this really neat connection, and that they remember that, because I remember my level 1 and my level 2 seminars and the trainers that were working it.
Yeah.
And there's this special, like, they do a million of them, right? But to me, it was like they were there for me and for the other participants. And at my level 1, I did it down in San Diego, and I was just, it was just magnetic, like listening to them speak, everything they said. It was the content in the book, but it was like coming to life.
Yeah.
And like you said, the demonstrations, and then when they would coach or make corrections, it was like effortless. They just moved around in a way of just like, there wasn't all this like air of superiority or, like, that they knew more than me, but it was just so clear that they had the confidence and the knowledge to back it up. But it was also that they felt so accessible and friendly. And I don't know, I was in awe and thought, this must be the coolest, most fun job in the world. Yeah. This was after my level 1. I waited about 6 months, went and got it is now called the level 2, but it was then called the coach's prep course.
That quick you did. Wow.
Yeah. I had a really quick turnaround.
Yeah.
I was obsessed. And, when I was there the whole time, the first day, the whole time, I'm terrified, because at the level 2, you as the participant have to do the coaching, and they observe you and give you real-time feedback, like right in the moment. So like as if you went to a seminar to learn how to do, an Olympic barbell movement, while you're doing it, the coach is correcting you.
Yeah.
Same idea. While I was, teaching another participant the air squat, they're right there telling me, hey, try it this way, do this and that, which is so cool and so intimidating at the same time.
So intimidating.
In that first day, I was just thinking, like, you've got to get up the nerve to ask them, how does someone get their job? Like, how does someone get to that level? How much practice does it take to be that good? How many years does it take to get to that level? And once you do, what's the application process like, that kind of a thing. And so by the end of day 2, I was just kind of like, do it. Like, you're going to regret it the rest of your life if you don't ask.
Yeah.
And so as soon as it was done and people started clearing out, I like got up the nerve, went up to one of the trainers and said, I just have to ask. It was so cool seeing you guys in action. And how did you get this job? Like, how do you guys start? Whatever, however I phrased it. And, it was amazing, because right then in the moment, the woman that I spoke to, she said, well, actually, we all were talking and we wanted to recommend you to try interning.
Wow.
At the very, very entry level.
Yeah.
We thought you have some of the makings of what we could turn into a seminar staff, and I think a lot of that is more like the soft skills, the ability to receive feedback, the care, the empathy for the person you're working with.
Yep.
And not necessarily knowing all of the facts, not necessarily, not that I didn't know how to be a trainer, but I'm sure the wording I used, I probably talked too much. I'm sure the cues I gave maybe were not as sophisticated or as concise or whatever it could have been. And so those are the things they can work with us on.
Right.
If you don't care, they can't really teach you how to care about someone. And if you are not open to feedback, and let's be honest, criticism, they're not going to be able to have you on the team, because that seminar team is built on continual feedback. And so anyway, I got to start that whole process. So long-winded answer, but for me, like, the best part of those seminars is getting to see people have these aha moments.
Yeah.
But a level 1, someone doing a movement they never done before, or improving a movement they already do. Suddenly their air squat just feels a little bit better. I got lower than I ever got before. Or I got my first pull up. Or in the level 2, like letting them try a new technique that they're maybe a little nervous about.
Yeah.
They're not so good at creating a visual cue. It's not their first thing. They rather just tell you what to do. Like, okay, well, we're going to try a visual. How could you do it? Work them through it. And they do it and it works. And you see them go, okay, it worked.
Yeah.
Like, it made that person move better. What a neat moment for them. And so just like coaching, right?
Yep.
When someone gets something, you feel so like, I was a part of that. So for me, the seminar staff is that every weekend you work times, up to sometimes 40 or more participants,
Yeah.
it's really it just fills you up.
Yeah. It's interesting when I did it, and I did it because we put the CrossFit into Elevate, and as the gym owner, I'm like, well, I should at least have my L1. I wasn't planning on actually coaching. I
Oh,
was
okay.
like, but I've been doing CrossFit for like 5 years, 10 years at that point. So I was like, okay, it'll be good knowledge, which the
Definitely.
knowledge is invaluable. I encourage anybody who CrossFits just to do it, just to get the knowledge.
I wasn't a coach when I got my level
Yeah.
1. I was at a full-time desk job.
Yeah.
But I was like, I just want to know more.
Yeah, the learning was invaluable. But the thing that stuck me was it was you, Zach, and there was a third guy there. He was an L3.
Oh, okay.
And we were doing what was it, Fran, right? And he's like, and if you can't do strict pull-ups, I don't want you doing it. And I'm like, motherfucker, like it took me years to get my first pull-ups, right? Years. I was so proud of it because it was hard for me. I wasn't a gymnast. I was a little overweight at the time. It took me years to finally get those pull-ups. So
Totally.
So then we get into the thing and he sees me kipping and he's like, nope, down. If you can't do it, don't do it. Get a band. And I was like,
oh, wow.
my ego was so, do you know who? And I didn't say this, but I'm thinking I own a gym. I've been CrossFitting forever. Like I'm just doing this for my certification. And then I took a breath. I went inside, and this was at the ranch. So it was like 100 degrees.
Okay. Yeah.
It was so hot already. And if I hadn't been there with two of my guys that work for me they're certified, Nate and Tommy, I swear to God, I think I would have left.
Really?
It was my ego. Like you said, I was unwilling to be coached. I was unwilling to go, no, I should scale because I felt like I should be doing it, but I understood the mechanics. And so I took a beat and I took a breath and I stood in front of that big ass fan.
Yeah.
Literally called the big ass fan. Cooled down.
Yeah.
Came back out and I got through it. But it was very humbling for me because I realized how the standard is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was really good for me because at the time I didn't think I would be coaching. Now I coach one night a week, my clients and my staff. And because of people just coming into their program, their fitness level is way down here. They're coming straight out of detox. So literally they should all be scaling. And so it was a good thing for me to learn that because I realized the ego and the other things that could get in play, but really it's all about the mechanics and bringing it down to a level where they have the success and they feel good about it. And it's not about I can do it because I'm strong, because that's when people get hurt. That's when they do dumb things. And so it was actually really a good learning experience for me, even though at the time I was so upset. It was a tough lesson.
Well, I hope it was delivered in a way that was respectful. And that is something I'll say has been, I don't know, do you remember what year it was?
It had to be at least like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
6 or 7 years ago. It was maybe one of the last ones delivered at the ranch.
Okay. They definitely stopped. We haven't done them in the ranch since after 2020, to my knowledge.
Exactly. So but, probably 2019 or something.
And I think we've definitely spent a lot of time working with trainers on delivery of stuff and really giving people the benefit of the doubt and not assuming we know where someone's coming from when they walk in the door.
Yeah.
I think we all make these snap judgments on everyone. We look at everything from the clothes they wear to how they walk to, their body makeup. And we kind of have an idea of what their fitness level will be, maybe in the constructs of like the level 1. And maybe even what their attitude's going to be. Yeah. This person's going to be arrogant. This person, and none of this is spoken out loud, right? It's all internal. We probably don't even realize we're making those snap judgments.
100%.
I think if we did, we'd be different people, but like, I think they're happening just as part of human nature. And then that gets added when it's time to now make a judgment call of, I need to keep this person safe. I need to maybe adjust their pull-up. And rather than come at it from, a little bit of giving the benefit of the doubt, let me have a conversation with this person. Let me hear a little bit about their story. Obviously, if you're in the middle of the workout, it's not the time for the life story, but also like, I have seen and I've experienced saying something and then realizing I don't have the full picture for this person in this moment. And I bet you guys get a lot of this in the work you do.
So much.
And when I just take that one moment to give, like, you know what, they don't need another, fix this, fix that right now. What they need is a little, they're safe. They're not doing anything unsafe. They need a little bit of me trusting that they can handle this. And then I'm going to check in with them later. And I've done that before at seminars where it's kind of, I don't know, just getting a vibe. And I was thinking, wow, this person just doesn't want to be here. Wow, this person really is arguing with everything we're saying. They're really, she's really having a hard time like, I don't know why she signed up.
Yeah.
I don't know why she's doing this.
Yeah.
And then and even experiencing it during the workout, kind of almost like an eye roll when I was giving like a coaching cue, like, hey, push your knees out, or hey, drive those elbows up. And it was just almost met with this, like, putting up a wall. And rather than you know what, if you're gonna, I just kind of gave them a space, and then caught up with her before she left, and just kind of asked questions more than anything, not even about the workout, just like, how are you doing? You having okay? And without revealing too much to me, because didn't need to, she basically let me know that there was some really, really bad stuff going on at home. And that was kind of all the way she said it.
Yeah.
But tears welled up in her eyes. And I was like, you just never know what someone has just gone through, the call they just got, the whatever. And so what came off as someone that was challenging us was actually someone that was going through a really challenging time herself. And I just let her know that she has the space to do that, and that we are here to make this weekend whatever experience she needs it to be. And if it's, I just need to get through it, and then that's okay. I said, if you need to step out, if you need to take a call, if you need to, I can fill you in. If you miss the last 5 minutes of the lecture, just grab me off to the side, and at a time when nothing's happening, or at lunch, and I'll catch you up on the material, which she never ended up doing, but she just didn't feel seen and heard. I think went a long way for her. The next day, she kind of said, thank you, and left for the day. The day was over. And the next day she was a different person.
Yeah.
The questions came off with less of an edge. She was still very inquisitive, which I loved. But they were less feeling like we're challenging you, and more like, I want to know.
Yeah.
And what a difference that made for everyone in the room.
Yeah.
And I think for her. And just by the end of the weekend, I could tell nothing at home was different. I'm sure, I'm sure all that was still going on, but and so that's where I think us on seminar staff have really tried to turn the page and mature ourselves, and not just be like, well, you're not doing pull-ups, and it's kind of like,
go get,
hey, Angie, how long have you been doing this? Wow, that's a really long time. I can see that you can do that kipping pull-up. For today, one of the reasons we are being really strict about this is, and this is true about the ranch, there's no mats outside. We do it outside. The bars are variable because they've been in the elements for decades, a decade at least. And we've seen people fall off and get hurt. And because we don't know you, we don't know your grip strength, we don't know what workouts you did this week, it's a big
liability.
And we've got the big mats, and even that is no guarantee. You could break both your wrists, and now you're out. So we've got to be extra strict, and we could deliver that message, I think, with a little less edge. And but I'm sure that's something that you guys have to do as well. We got to have a hard line, but we also have to think about the person.
Well, and especially when you're dealing with a giant group of people, like if you make a special exception for one person, then you got to make it for everybody else. And like you said, there's reasons behind it. And so, like I said, in the moment I was really upset, but then I got some space. And then when I started coaching others, I was like, look, I get it.
Yeah.
I understand. I've been there. I know where you're coming from.
And you probably have adjusted your delivery based on,
oh my gosh,
the delivery you received, right? So at least I hope that. I hope that, like, anytime I did a poor job at a seminar, someone gave me the benefit of the doubt, learned from it, and delivered better the next time, right? That's what I hope for.
So I actually had a sign made in the gym that's like, before the class starts, let your trainer know if you have an injury or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, like, I literally put that up there because we have people coming in. I don't know their history. They're coming straight out of detox. Everybody has passed. So the first thing, I have all these new people running up to me like, oh, I have this wrong, and I have this wrong, I have this wrong. And I have to I'm trying to start the class, you know what I mean? But then I'm like, okay, but I told them to come tell me this. And so, yes, there's a lot of grace. And I used to be a lot more standard and strict. And again, I have a different demographic than most gyms.
True.
But I've really lessened that. And it's all about, good movement, technique, learning, and not hurting yourself by trying to do stuff because you have the strength, but you don't have the technique. That's where the injuries happen.
I think your gym is so interesting because the turnover is guaranteed. A lot of owners are like, well, my turnover, I know my retention numbers, and I know what I'm going to churn, and that's something that I track. but your facility is based on churn. You want to churn your people out. That means we're doing our job, right? And there's a timeline for it. And so you are constantly refreshing, and retention is not a goal in the same way that in traditional gym would be. And there's some cool factor to that, right?
Yeah.
Because you get to be, there's a lot of struggle. There's a lot of challenges with that. But the cool factor is that you get to be everyone's like fall in love with CrossFit moment.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like giving the level 1, where most people that do the level 1 seminar have already experienced CrossFit. Some haven't. I've trained almost every seminar. There's one person that's never done CrossFit, which was interesting.
Yeah.
But for you, you're giving this like, we're going to make you fall in love with this, hopefully, because we're giving you maybe a hobby, maybe a community to go out into the world and continue. And not everyone does, I'm sure, but what a cool, introduction, essentially, that you get to be their first workout, maybe of CrossFit style workout, their first community that cheered them on, their first feeling of, and maybe for some, their first pull-up or their first dip or their first push-up, or maybe the first time they squatted and stood without assistance. You just never know, right? And while it's tough that you're like, well, then I don't get to see their journey continue on. You don't get to say I have a 10-year member in the same way, but you also are like, I'm everybody's beginning point.
Yeah. Well, and to watch them be so empowered so quickly, like it's amazing. So what I like to do, and what I have taught, he does my programming. Like on my nights, I want to do strength progression, because well, first of all, I love lifting. So I'd much rather just do lifting.
Let's just do that.
Let's just do lifting. So, but sometimes, like this last one was a 10-week front squat progression. And a lot of the clients had come in at the beginning. So I got to watch their progress every week until the end. And they were literally running. They were so excited on that last week where they get their maxes. And you can imagine, like I mean, you know how it is in the beginning. You're every week's a PR.
Oh yeah.
So like they're so excited, and for me to be able to be part of that process, they're running up to me, Angie, are we doing the front squats tonight? And they're so excited and they're so proud, and for me to be able to share in that.
Oh yeah.
So great.
It's amazing. And that to me, those are the feelings like that keep you going. And then you're like, and I hope that it fuels them too.
Yeah. Oh,
and they'll keep them going.
Absolutely. Well, and it's so cool too, because like you said, this is what's going to take them on the outside. So like what we're trying to do is replace those drugs and alcohol and teach them that you can get that same feeling from exercise.
Right.
And maybe it doesn't have to be in the gym if you can't afford a CrossFit membership, but like get
Do
that feeling and doing that stuff. So we always
get a backpack and go on a hike, right? Grab a couple friends and go to the park. And I mean, my daughter will play on the swing set and at the local park, and I'll jump on the monkey bars and do a couple pull-ups just because, right? Like, I'm not trying to show off. There's no one around.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, wow, because I remember back in the day when I couldn't do a pull-up. So why not
take advantage of that.
You don't need to afford the CrossFit gym if you can't. You don't need to create a garage gym. You can just find this fitness as an outlet for yourself. And
absolutely. And I have to say, I've noticed, and I get the luxury of having the clients say, wait, you actually lead from the front. Like, what other CEOs in the gym with the clients, training the clients and doing the workouts? And so by that factor alone, it really, it's not like I'm trying to lead from up here and run things from an ivory tower. I'm like actually in there showing them how to do it. And that just resonates, especially with addicts. Like they're like, don't tell me what to do unless they see you doing it. And they're like, okay, you're not telling me to do something you don't do. So seeing us like bring them through that process really gives us clout, I guess it is, but also shows them that they can do it too.
You got to walk the talk, right? In all aspects of it, right? Well, and that's, if we look outside of the, the recovery center and look at just a regular gym, and regardless of what their body might look like, if they're, sipping on a, high sugar energy drink or, whatever kinds of nutritional habits, but telling everyone that they should be eating a certain way, that you lose credibility.
Yep.
And if you are, if you are not performing the movements with correct standards or good technique, but you're asking others to, it's like, well, that's not really an accurate demonstration of the lifestyle that you are promoting when you're coaching. And so I think that that's amazing that you are in there walking the talk. And I think everyone's got their story and everything. But if you look at probably other programs, if it does feel a lot more like we're telling you what to do rather than in it with you, I think that loses credibility. And how can you build trust with someone
Right.
if you're not kind of in battle along with them? And that's how CrossFit feels sometimes, right? Like
Yeah.
you're in the workout, you feel like you're in a battle zone, you're being hit from all sides with with the discomfort, and battling through that feeling of discomfort.
Oh yeah.
It's really hard to convince someone that that's a good idea if it's not part of their right. And I imagine you have come across that in recovery.
Oh, all the time. I
You
mean, we
know?
preach it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, growth is on the edge of discomfort. Growth
Yeah.
doesn't come from being comfortable. So let's push ourselves to be uncomfortable. Yeah, we definitely.
But
try
for
to really
someone
put
that's
that in.
just saying that to you, right? You're
Yeah.
like, you don't understand
Yes.
what it feels like
Yeah.
and how bad it hurts. And like, this isn't a little uncomfortable. And I'm not even talking about CrossFit, right?
Yeah.
Could be about whatever challenge they're going through in recovery, whether it's physical or psychological.
Yeah.
And to be able to be like, yeah, but we do hard things, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then we get to the other side of them. They're not forever. Like that's whenever my clients are in it, sometimes I got to remember like the workout will end.
Yeah.
The workout will end and you will be, and how do we always feel at the end?
Yes.
We're always glad we did it
Every single
at
time.
the end. So let's remember that when we're in the thick of it. And I'm saying this because I'm about to go do this workout. It's all the burpees.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to do them. But I think about later tonight, I'll be so glad I did them and they'll be over with and I'll go on with my life. And that is something I talk about with all of my athletes too, because I coach a lot of younger athletes, teen athletes, middle school, high school, college. And I always tell them like, I'm not going to count your reps. I did my burpees, if that's the one that we all hate. Right. Or I did my running, I did my sprints or whatever thing they're dreading.
Yeah.
And it's not a show off thing, but I'm like, I get it. It sucks. You can tell me it sucks. You can be angry, uncomfortable. Some of them have even gotten a little emotional or whatever.
Oh yeah. And
I'm like, but you're the one deciding to go back out there. I'm not making you do it. And I'm not going to hold you. And of course, sometimes we have to adjust the workout. We can do a little bit less running where, we're going to do what's right for you, but, it's your choice because I'm teaching you for the rest of your life, not just because you're trying to make the volleyball team this year.
Yeah.
It's like this. I want them to have an understanding of fitness for the rest of their life, that it's their choice.
Yeah.
Not because the PE coach made me run a mile. And here they are, sipping on their Starbucks Frappuccino, maybe not looking like they pay too much attention to what goes in or how much exercise they get.
Yeah.
We're fortunate to live in a town where our PE teachers really hold themselves to a high standard and they participate with the athlete, with the students. But, that can be an example for students where they're like, I don't see it. You're losing credibility. You tell me to run the mile. You're not showing me how to run correctly. You're not showing me a lifestyle that running a mile would create,
Yeah.
And so what I try to tell my athletes is like, I do the burpees when no one's around for me.
Yeah.
Not because I like them. I hate them.
Yeah.
But I do them because, and if I lose count, I do the extra one that I wasn't sure about.
Same.
Not because anyone knows. If my toes don't touch the bar on the exercise and it's supposed to, I redo it.
Yeah. Rep yourself.
Yeah. Why does it matter? Why does one matter? Well, because it matters to me, because the only person I'm not giving that to is myself.
Yes. Yes.
And so that's, I think, probably a lesson that people learn in CrossFit.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's another one of the rules I have on the wall is don't cheat, because you're only cheating yourself. And like,
doesn't affect you. You're the coach. You're like, I did mine.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and what I try to tell them is like, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're allowing yourself to cheat here and get away with less, and you're feeling like okay about that, it's going to affect you out there. So I'd much rather you do half the reps and say it. Nobody cares.
Yeah. Always. And we always talk about one of the first things we talk about when we look at the workout before we started is how are we going to adjust this so that everyone in the room can participate? And almost always, depending on the workout, the first thing I list as an option is reducing the volume. And that usually means the amount of repetitions, or maybe if it's got running or biking, we would reduce the distance.
Yeah.
And that's always option number one. And you can take that option. And I usually create some flexibility. Maybe if it says 100, maybe you're doing 75, maybe you're doing 50. There's ranges, right? It's not like, well, you can only go down to 70.
Yeah.
And then you own those and you give your best with the amount you say you're going to do. And it's just like you said, if you were to be sneaking away something else, that is you telling yourself that you're not worth, I'm not able to, I'm not good enough, I'm not worth the full thing. Instead of committing to, I'm going to do this for myself, even if that means I take breaks, even if that means I have to walk over to coach and say, I don't know if I can do these last 10. I feel my heart pounding out of my chest. I think I'm going to, and you walk over with them and then let me see what one looks like. Okay. Yeah. Let's breathe after that one. You know what? We're going to try to just get to 5. We get through those 5. And you know what happens usually? That the member, the athlete will turn to the coach and say, I think I can't do that last 5. The coach will say, I'm going to let's just see what 5 looks like.
Yeah.
You got 10 to go, but let's just try 5. And you could give them that out. You could be done right now. And they're like, no, I think I can do the last 5. And you're teaching them to create that themselves.
Yeah.
Because they're worth it.
Totally.
Yeah.
That was one of my first coaches, Jenny, from here. That was how she used to get me. Yeah. She was doing it on purpose. But I was when I first started, I have this heart condition. I was with all these athletic
a real
people.
thing.
Yeah,
right?
It was a real thing.
Not in your mind.
You know, and she'd be like, look, Angie, why don't you, instead of like 100, do 50? And I'll be like, are you saying I can't do 100? Like, that was all she had to say is go ahead and lessen it. I'm giving you permission. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Why do you think I need permission to not do that? I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
That reverse psychology works so freaking good on me every single time.
I see why we had to adjust the pull-ups for you on that seminar. She's like, no, really, I think you should do the 50. It's your first day.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a thing, but it is working with people. And there's just so many different facets to it. It's like, because some people are just soft.
Yeah.
And they've
never had the challenges.
And they've never
had
had
different challenges, but not in the physical way.
Yeah.
And I think people's feelings, and I shouldn't say that, how their body physically feels in the midst of it is a new feeling.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to process it.
True.
Am I hurt? Am I going to get hurt? Is my heart going to stop? I mean, these are the thoughts that actually will cross. Am I going to die? People have actually been thinking this way in the middle of the exercise, and it's not that, it is intense. It's extremely intense, but it's because people haven't been exposed to that feeling. So easing them into that level of intensity, right? We're going to get you close to that, have you knock on the door of it. And then over time, maybe you'll be the one laying on the ground at the end of the workout, but
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, we have people straight out of detox who've never worked out a day in their life walk in the gym. And again, well, half the time they don't even tell me, and because I'm only coaching once a week, I don't know. I'm not asking everybody how long you've been here or whatever. They come in, I'm like, oh, good, you're here. And but then you find out pretty quickly, they're like, this is my first class. And I'm like, okay, cool. So like, let's lessen that a little bit, because what you don't want is them to overdo it or hurt themselves. And they're like, I hate it, I'm never coming back. You want them to leave with a win. You don't want them to leave with like,
always
I sucked and I'm
win.
Terrible.
Yeah.
So you want to set them up for that.
Or even like maybe they didn't create an injury, but they created such an adverse feeling because the physical was from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
And it would have been really great. And 50 would have been enough. Yeah. 50 would have shocked their system. Yeah. But we took it to 100 where they, the rest of the day they couldn't eat. They were shaking. I've definitely, as a competitor, I have definitely had those workouts where the entire day I was messed up, and I was like, and now it was not unsafe. I was trained and able to do that, but I pushed as hard as I physically could, and my body reached a limit, and it was spending the entire day trying to get back to homeostasis. Yep. And so if we've got a brand new athlete, that should not be their experience. I always tell my athletes, and again, you've got a shorter window, but I always tell my athletes the first couple of days, I want you to leave feeling like you had a little more in the tank. I give them moments during the training where they get uncomfortable. Yeah. I dose the discomfort, but at the end of the day, I want them to think like, okay, that wasn't too bad. I don't want them so scared not to return. And I do that mostly with my teens. Yeah. Because they're, I think they're, in terms of my group, because I get a lot of my CrossFit athletes that are not teens, that are adults, they are have done some kind of fitness, whether it's a spin class or a yoga class, and so they understand the concept of I go to exercise. It's the teens that are like, what is this? Bless you. And so yeah,
they're stubborn and their brains aren't fully developed.
And I think it's easy for some to want to turn back to mom and dad and say, that was too hard. I don't like it. Yes. She didn't listen. Yes. I said it was too hard. And so I'd rather kind of, win them over and then make it their decision to make it a little harder. And I kind of turn them over time from what appears maybe a little bit softer, a little bit, less likely to be uncomfortable. And by the end of the time, like maybe if I get them as an 8th grader and then I see them off to graduating high school, usually by then they're the one asking me for like, I want it to get harder. I want to, I want to reach this next level. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. So it pretty much is the exact same thing that I go through. And that's what I'll tell people, like, look, you're going to be sore tomorrow. So here's what I don't want. Don't run to the nurse's office. I need ibuprofen. This is a good thing because, again, I'm dealing with addicts and alcoholics. They're used to numbing pain physically and mentally. So teaching them that pain is good. That's good. That's your body's response.
Right.
And that doesn't mean and you're safe. And don't not show up tomorrow because you're sore. That's okay too. You could do active recovery. And so I try to prepare them so that they don't do it and then they're like, I hated that because now I'm sore. It's like, but that's not a bad thing. Being sore is not bad. That's like muscle building. That's a good thing. But a lot of people have been trained that, if it doesn't feel good, numb it.
Right.
And so it's like retraining
that's
those
what
neural pathways
society says to do.
Absolutely.
That's what
every
ad says to do that.
Yes.
Sometimes I don't know even what the diseases are that we're medicating for. And I'm thinking, why wouldn't we first, when we want to get to the root cause of why that happened?
Yeah. Diet, exercise. What are you taking? What are you eating? How much
sunlight,
are you
movement.
Water.
Yeah. It doesn't even have to mean getting a CrossFit class. It's like, how much do you sit during the day versus stand and walk? And how much do you, it's amazing that that's where we're at. So you're having to flip not just the script from whatever addiction they're coming out of, but also like from possibly their entire upbringing and what society said to do. And, here, have a chair, sit down, take a load off. It's like, wait a minute, I haven't been doing backbreaking farm work or, hunting and gathering all day, but I'm going to take a load off. It's like, interesting. Yeah.
But that is what is acceptable and normal. And so, and people just by nature will go to that because it's easy and it's comfortable. Why do I want to push myself when I can have the same things by not working
everyone
hard?
Else is doing?
Right.
I've got 3 kids. I've got 2 teenagers. They're twins, 17, and they are very active in sports. And so for years, my husband and I have been going to watch their games. Love it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And this isn't every single game for the last, I don't even know what it's been, 6-7 years of really like competitive sport. We don't really sit at the games. We don't really sit in the bleachers. Now I've got a little one as well. And so sometimes I got to sit next to her to keep her busy with whatever she's drawing or feed her dinner during the game. But for the most part, my husband and I like to stand.
Yeah.
And we have both experienced a lot of the other parents of teammates offering us somewhere to sit. There's room. We'll scoot over, have a seat. We brought an extra chair, have a seat. And it's kind of funny that we're like, we're good to stand up. It took us 2 hours to get here. We sat in the car for 2 hours. We're going to drive 2 hours home. I don't need to sit in the bleachers for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'm not tired by standing or we'll in between games, we'll go on a walk and we'll talk or whatever. We'll let our little one go run around. And it's like, why aren't they sitting? And they'll sit on the bleachers to watch the game at the tournament and then they'll go sit while the kids are recovering and eating. And then they'll go back and sit for the next game. And then they'll sit in the car. And I'm just like, if I go to the tournament, I could potentially be sitting for 10 hours with the drive and everything. And I'm like, I'm good to stand while I watch my kid. It's not the coach is standing. The players are standing.
Yeah.
I have no injuries that require me to sit. And they look at us like we've got, something growing out of our head. Like, what is wrong with them?
As they're eating their chili fries
and
the other
and
things.
Sitting isn't hard.
No.
Or sorry, excuse me, standing isn't hard where I need to sit. And it's kind of interesting. So that's another reason why sometimes like something as simple as, and I'm not even saying like, oh, we stand because it's uncomfortable. I'm just like, no, it's just, why do you guys need to sit? And then everyone complains, oh, the bleachers are so uncomfortable. It's like, yeah, why are you sitting in them? It's so strange. But that's where I say like society kind of has this condition for these certain things.
Right.
You go to the game, you're going to sit. You go to the whatever, you're going to eat that. You go to the this, you're going to, you feel pain, you're going to take an Advil, all these things.
Yes.
With my athletes, a lot of times I'll say like, if you take the Advil in certain situations, you can't actually gauge during your next workout how much to push because you've numbed some of it. When in reality, if you have a little sense of how sore you are, you know how to warm those muscles up properly. You know if they're ready to go.
Yeah.
You know that, coach, I'm still feeling really beat up from Monday. And you're like, I'm glad you told me. I don't want you to go as heavy today. It's a heavy day, but we're going to hit medium. Yeah. And I want you to hit it really good. And I want to see range of motion or whatever, but if they just took a bunch of meds and now you don't know, they don't know.
Right.
And then you actually push too much again, now it's compounding. So,
which is exactly why I try to tell our clients, like, it's
actually
okay.
Good information.
You listen to your body. Our bodies are like the most amazing sense of everything going on.
Right. My ankle's still bugging me. Oh, good. Then we probably shouldn't run.
Yeah.
we're going to put your foot up and just row with one leg and your arms. And then we know that that ankle needs a little bit more rest.
Yeah.
Done. Coaches, that you make it easy on your coach.
Yeah.
How's your ankle? I don't know. I took a bunch of Advil. It's fine. Your coach is like, but is it?
Right.
Are we about?
And this is how injuries happen,
No,
because
it
it's
is.
literally
Yeah.
numb.
You're telling
your
me it
sensors
is.
aren't working.
You did the warm up. I watched you move. I guess it's okay. And then we find out on the weekend, you're like, no, I wrecked it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't have the data. We didn't know.
I know.
Right?
Well, hopefully now, I mean, I really hope that we're starting to turn towards maybe more of this information getting out, more people, more seeing, like, I mean, I can't tell you at my age, 53, so many people are like, gosh, I wish I could be as fit as you. And I'm like, you can. How much time do you think I work out? I have a full-time job. I'm not like in the gym, 5 hours a day, every single day. I work out, maybe CrossFit 3 times a week. And then I walk, and then I'm in my sauna, and then I'm doing other things. But so many people are just trained on not, and it's comfortable, and I don't want to hurt myself. I hear that so much. I don't want to hurt myself. And my response to that is, I would rather hurt myself doing something badass, like lifting heavy weight or something like that, than my core is very weak, and I am very weak, and I hurt myself getting out of bed. Like, it's embarrassing.
Well, I mean,
but that's kind of the norm, right?
You've worked enough in offices, like people are going to be hurt from doing nothing.
More so.
Like I remember in my 20s, before I became a full-time trainer, and I worked in a desk job, and I was just like, I was going to say 9 to 5, but it really wasn't, because we were overtime every night. It was sort of in the advertisement business. And so there was always deadlines, and we had to stay late. And so people would get there at 9 and stay till 9 or 10 some days, and working on weekends sometimes, and on holidays. It was awful. And they were all broken. And this is when I found CrossFit, funny enough. So I'm doing CrossFit, and I'm in my 20s. So I'm already, and I had been a college athlete. I had been a personal trainer. So I was already looking a little different than they did, because I was new to the desk job. And they would be, my sciatica, and they'd have to take off a week of work because of sciatic pain, or my migraines are just out of control, and all of these other, and I understand some of these things are like, could have been previous injury, or could be just, genetic. You are prone to some things, but so many of them had this knee, this neck, this back pains. Yeah. All of them. And here I was with, maybe I tore my callus, or I scraped my leg on the rope climb today, or I feel really sore from my workout. I'm really tired. And I was in pain. They were in pain. And I had this realization, in my 20s, of like, not to be dramatic, but like, that life, you're going to be in pain. Yeah. And it's really a choice of which pain is it, right? I'm talking about physical pain, right? And we're also going to all experience, pain in emotionally and psychologically. I'm sure it's just part of life, right? But I'm talking about physical. You're going to have discomfort, pain. Yeah. You choose. It's either the pain of being overweight, inactive, stressed, sick, and you're sitting all day long in an office, or you're going to have the pain of, I got up at 6 a.m. I took the 6:30 class. I tore my shin on the box. Yep. It hurts. I'm not going to be a shin model anymore. My hands are tender because we were lifting heavy, and they just kind of are sore to the touch. My muscles are tired and hurting, or my sciatica pain. And this is someone that, I remember in my office, and she was completely inactive. She was overweight. She was not healthy eating habits. She was, and I just thought, she's in excruciating pain. How horrible. I was in a lot of pain during the workout, and I feel some pain now. It's just like, it's your choice. And I was like, I so much would rather have the choice of doing things, pain. Yeah, absolutely. Then pain is going to find you. Absolutely. If you choose I'm not going to do the class because I don't want to get hurt, pain will find you. I'm talking about physical pain, right? And it's like, wow, that's pretty morbid, but it's just like, it's absolutely true. So would you rather be self-induced or induced on you? Do you want to be the cause or the effect? Or think about like end of life result, right? And I know none of us really know, but like, there is going to be pain in those stages as we all get older, right? But it's like, I want to be an active older person, being able to chase after grandchildren or whatever, versus I'm in the pain of, and on top of that, I can't get out of my chair, or I need assisted living, or, wow, that's a different, and I'm in pain. I physically need someone to help me, or they're going to medicate me, and I'm just going to kind of be sitting there watching TV until I fade away. Like, No.
Yeah. Well, and it's amazing how many people give up. Like so many people, like
Yeah.
I said, I'm 50 and they're like, oh, they've almost already like checked
That's
out.
it.
And I'm like, you could
Yeah.
live another 50 years. That's your
Easily.
quality of life you want to live with.
Right.
Like, and they're
That
like,
sounds
oh,
like a
CrossFit's so
nightmare.
hard. Yeah.
That sounds
Well,
like a trap.
it is. Well, and what I try to tell people is like prior to CrossFit, I had when I had my daughter, I was overweight. And you know, when your bones are kind of soft after you have a child.
Yes.
And so I had her on my hip. I bent down to get my purse. It like tweaked my back.
Sure.
Like I was like on the ground. I couldn't like move. And then I started chiropractic
Mhm.
from there for years and years and years. Like I couldn't get it in multiple times a week. And anything I did, it hurt it.
Oh.
And I just got used to that. That was the norm, chiropractic, and that was my norm. So when I started CrossFit, of course, instantly my back was, it intensified. It hurt even more. I'm now back at the chiropractor more and more. And then all of a sudden, as my core got stronger, as my bones got stronger, as I got stronger, less visits to the chiropractor, less visits to the chiropractor. Like I haven't gone to the chiropractor in probably 5+ years because I built the core strength.
But you're still doing the lifting, huh?
I'm doing more lifting than ever and
still
lifting heavy and doing all the things. I'm no longer in fear that I'm going to re-aggravate it. I'm no longer like tied to a chiropractor the rest of my life just to walk. Like it really was just rebuilding my body to now be strong, which in my mind, I have a heart condition. I have this back issue. If I'd listened to all the doctors and the things, I never would have done it. But the peer pressure from my group starting CrossFit, and I wanted to be part of that community, got me in there, and I worked through all of it. And now no pain, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But you got to be willing to do the work and get through that to get to that point.
And
thank God I have.
Like you did, learn correct techniques and make sure you're doing it correctly and not rush it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going for PRs anymore. Like, you know, I'm older. You know, your priorities shift. Now it's longevity. Now I want this body to last me another 50 years.
I'm going to hold on to the weight I can't lift.
That are going to like really, you know, damage me. But I still can lift heavy. I can still do all the things. But I had to do the work and I had to be willing to trust the process that it was going to create that effect. And so that's why I tried to tell people like whatever past injury, whatever other things that you've gone through, it doesn't matter. You can still work through all that and create a strong foundation for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's one of the greatest messages about it. And I think you can find that in other fitness endeavors. I don't think that we have the, you know, the exclusive rights to that.
Not at all.
And so if someone's watching like, yeah, well, you know, CrossFit's not for me, I think that's fine. We always say that it's for anybody, but it doesn't have to be for everybody. Like that's okay. But do something, right? Like choose the hard and choose the discomfort. And I had a similar experience with an injury that sidelined me amidst early years of CrossFit. And it was from poor technique and not quite understanding posture while I was doing certain lifts. And I didn't have a moment like you where I felt an injury.
Yeah.
It was just sort of like over time and found out, degenerated discs, herniated disc. And I just thought, that's it for me. I'm just going to live on the couch now. Like it was really depressing.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm ruined in my whatever 20s, I think it was. But sure enough, here I am now. All of my numbers are higher than they were prior to the injury.
Wow.
And it's just like I was able to go back to the CrossFit Games after having the injury diagnosis. Like all of these things, I learned a better way to move. I learned how to recover correctly.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't doing.
Yep. And that's a huge part of it.
I wasn't. And by that, I mean specifically like the muscles needed to be either stretched or you know, given myofascial release. I was needing to get more soft tissue work done so that my body was able to maintain the positions I was supposed to be in.
Yeah.
And those are things no one taught me that as a young athlete. No one taught me that in my early years of CrossFit. I kind of just warmed up and went.
Yeah.
Didn't realize there would be an aftermath after, you know, I would do some gentle foam rolling that didn't really do anything.
Right.
So it took some education on that side too, of like, oh, okay, you know, and now, haven't gone to the chiropractor was every day. Yep. Massage therapy was every day. Yep. I was immobilized when like 28, 29 years old or something like that. Forget exactly. But and now it's like, oh, I don't ever go to the chiropractor. Yeah. I have no pain. Yeah. The disc is still degenerated.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know it. Yeah. I'm not afraid to lift the weight. So I think, it might be part of some people's journey. And I think with you having that experience, you can guide them through it, guide them past it.
Well, and we're just so much more capable than we think we are. And that's the other thing. Like when people are attempting lifts and then they walk away and they're frustrated, I said, That's here. I know you have the strength and that's here. And that's part of the process too. We get in our heads, we think we can't, we tell ourselves we can't. It's part of those limiting beliefs. And like, let's work on this. It's not all about this. And I'm putting it in my head and my body for those people that are just listening. So, but it's important because I mean, that is a big part of CrossFit is the mental aspect of, you know, it can be scary to lift a heavy weight. And it's so interesting. Like I see a barrier with clients and it's the box jump. And it's like, we have to lower it down. Just there's a mental block on me jumping on a 20-inch box. It's like, okay, well, let's just jump on a plate. Like it's okay. But there, again, it's just such a mental thing because of past programming or all the different things that happen to people that tell them they can't. And we got to gently show them, but you can.
There's a quote you may have heard over the years of CrossFit. And, you know, when talking about CrossFit, the creator, Greg Glassman, would often talk about the adaptations. Your body experiences adaptations. And for me, prior to CrossFit, being a personal trainer, being a collegiate athlete, I never heard about changes in my body referred to as adaptations, but it's absolutely what they are, right? But what we think of when we mean that, what you should think about are things like losing body fat, gaining lean muscle mass, increasing your bone density, all the other intangibles, as well as things like improving, you know, your score on the workout or adding more weight to the barbell. Those are all considered adaptations that your body is accumulating. And there's even ones that are maybe not something you can measure under a microscope, right? Improving your coordination, improving your agility. You can't really see a measurable change in the tissue when those improve, but what do you get? You improve your coordination of your core strength, allowing you to move the weight more effectively or without back pain, right? And so all of these things are adapting as you do CrossFit. Well, what Greg Glassman said was the greatest adaptation in CrossFit happens between the years, right? Of all of these wonderful things that we can gain from it. We almost always talk about and think about the physical, but he said the greatest adaptation is between the years because of what you just talked about, overcoming doubt, trying again, and maybe trying again looks like coming back the next day and the next and the next. I love when affiliate owners will put together this long reel of all the times this person attempted a pull-up or all the times they attempted a ring dip or a double under or whatever it may be, and they didn't get it. And it's not in one session. It's session after session. It's week after week, years even for some. And here they are and you get to see it time lapse, right? All the times they came in and tried the pull up and now here they are, they have it. And you're like, that person looks like me. And sometimes those I find really hit for people more than when you see the side by side of someone lost weight. Those are impressive. Those are so cool. Look at the one, you know, he's got extra weight on the side and now he's got a 6-pack. Wow. You know, and, but how cool to see the timeline of it's not easy. You're going to fail way more times than you succeed. And like, who wants to sign up for that program? Like, that's your tagline. It's like, well, that's where the gift is in the failing. Right. I mean, if everything's easy, you know, what are you learning and what are you really, and what adaptation is there? None. You know, if on day one, you just had double unders, okay, well, then we didn't improve your agility or your accuracy or your coordination. That was something you already had. Now we have to find a new way to challenge you. Can you do 100 of them? You know, can you with the jump rope or could you do something more fancier? Could you do a double under while you cross the rope? Or could we, you know, maybe we'll make you
triple under.
Maybe we make you deadlift and then do the double under. Now, how is that challenging you? Now your coordination, you keep hitting your feet. I mean, this isn't the dialogue, but as the coach, you're saying, now that they were challenged with another exercise. But sometimes I think we're just focused on the goal. Just get there, just get through it. Right. How many days is the program for you guys for recovery? Does it vary?
It's between 60 and 70.
Okay. Well, for some people that might feel like they're just scratching the days off, like just get me through it, get to the other side of it. And 100%. You guys are like, yes, that day will come. But what's more important to us is what happens between days 1 and 70. Because what builds is indicative of where we're going to go on day 71, day 91, day 771, right? Like it's really more about what's happening between the years. So I love that you have CrossFit as part of your program. And I hope that it draws parallels for people that they can carry.
Yeah. Well, it's hard because, you know, like we talked about with how society is, everybody's so used to instant gratification, instant results. I was in the gym 5 days this week. Why am I not looking like, you know, that fitness model?
Right.
And the amount of work that goes into building a body or doing the right things. And, you know, as we know with CrossFit, a lot of it's in the gym, but a lot of it's outside the gym. What are you
What's the
eating?
other
What are you
hours?
putting in your
The
body?
other 23 hours of the day. How much are you
Exactly. Yeah.
sleeping?
Sleeping, eating, all that crap. You know, you're choosing fried foods over like the healthy salad
Yeah.
bar,
Why isn't
whatever
it
it is.
working,
Yeah, why isn't
coach?
it working? Yeah. So it's like being willing to do the work and staying consistent with it, which
Yeah.
is really hard because everybody's so trained in on instant gratification, instant satisfaction, instant results. They don't want to do the long work, the years to build it.
Consistency is much harder, right?
Way harder. Way harder,
With
especially
anything,
with
whether,
distractions and
yeah,
this and all the
whether
reasons
it's
of why
a
you
fitness
can't.
program or
Yeah.
recovery,
Yeah.
consistency is the hardest part,
It is.
right? I bet you guys could look across all sorts of recovery programs and find how many people started
Yeah.
compared to how many people finished and
Right.
are still clean.
Absolutely.
And the numbers, I would be, I don't even know if you guys have those statistics, but
We do.
I bet it's pretty upsetting as someone in the business to see how many can start and not finish. And you're like, that's where we want to be the difference, right? We want to close that gap.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and we're very fortunate
Yeah.
because we have a very high retention rate
That's amazing.
because they're being challenged every day. They're learning every day. It's not the same thing every day and
Yeah.
expecting a different result. Like there's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But, you know, to come into our program, you did a lot of bad work to get here. So it's not going to be fixed overnight. And it's also not
Which
going to be
that's
fixed
the
with
gym
the pills.
owner and the coach's
Yeah.
well dialogue, right? Someone walks in and use the example of someone that's overweight.
Yeah.
Like it took a long time to get you where you're at now. So
Yeah.
we can't just look for the quick fix, the diet fix that's going to make you drop 50 pounds.
Yeah.
You know, in a year. That is impressive. 50 pounds in a year, it's 52 weeks. That means you are able to stay consistent with close to a pound a week. And someone might look at some show like, you know, The Biggest Loser or Extreme Weight Loss and be like, well, that's nothing. You know, they lose 50 pounds in a season or whatever it is, right? It's like, yeah, but a lot of them don't have the consistency when they go off of these extreme programs.
Of them put it all back on. Yeah.
Because they were in this secluded environment that wasn't real life.
Right.
And the speed at which they transformed, right? And in this instance, we're talking about weight loss, but you could look at that with like a sped up kind of recovery.
Yeah.
It's not building consistent habits or retraining, you know, what you see as your lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so how do you expect that to be? And so it's more so like telling that person they want to lose 50 pounds, like, all right, let's see what we can get done in this year. And they might go, a year. My cousin's wedding is in, 8 months. I want it gone by then. It's like, well, I don't know. We could try. It's not that the body isn't capable of that, but I like people to look a little bit further, when it comes to those big goals like that. Like, why don't we try to lose, let's try to lose 1 pound. Yeah. And oh my God, you lost 2. Cause like you said, sometimes those PRs and those successes happen a little bit faster at first. But then as you get as consistency, and as other factors come into play, it gets harder to keep doing that, to stay on that.
Well, and the thing that's tricky about CrossFit, well, all type of weightlifting is like, and that was another lesson I had to learn. And I was complaining, like, I'm not losing any weight. I'm not losing any weight. I'm not losing any weight. I go in and I complain to Janie, I'm not losing any weight. She's like, here's what I want you to do. And I'm like, okay. She's like, I want you to take that scale. I'm like, yeah. She's like, put it behind the wheel of your car. And then you go backwards over it. And then you go forwards over it. And you go backwards over it. She's like, quit looking at the freaking scale. As you're adding muscle weighs more than fat. You're looking at the scale to judge how you're doing, but how do your clothes fit? How do you feel? Like those are the tangibles. And so
are you getting better in the gym? Are the movement's easier? Or
exactly.
Are you doing more weight?
Fixated on the look, and we're so used to looking at things a certain way that I had to retrain my brain to look at it differently. I started measuring, like, okay, my biceps used to be this, now they're that. My waist used to be this. Okay, so maybe I'm weighing exactly the same, but look at all the muscle I've got now.
My entire body composition.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that I haven't got to experience firsthand recovery programs, but I wonder too if there's some setbacks like that, feeling like they're staying in one place.
Absolutely.
And you have to kind of demonstrate, like, you don't this anymore. You don't that. You don't think this way. You used to talk this way about yourself. You don't do that anymore. And like they almost don't see the small changes that are actually adding up to big changes.
Yes.
Because they're realizing this is still hard. When's it going to be not hard? When am I going to feel like it's easy? And you're like, well, It's not like that. It's not a switch.
Yeah.
You're in the program and we are building even when it doesn't feel like you're building,
Absolutely.
and you just keep coming back every day because we know that it works.
Yeah.
Even when you can't see it on the scale, or maybe in the moment you can't feel it, it's working.
Well, and that's why it's so good with our program, because they will acknowledge each other. Like,
Okay.
I've noticed this big change in you. And I remember when you were here, you first were like this. And boy, to see the change in you now, because
That feels
sometimes,
good.
yeah, it feels good. And sometimes we don't notice it until other people notice it and then say something. And then we're like,
Yeah.
oh, wait a minute. Wow, you're right. I didn't wake up and complain and was late and I didn't make my bed. Like,
Yeah.
holy shit, I actually have changed. But
Uh-huh.
sometimes it takes others to point that out in us for us to even recognize the changes.
It's really
We're our
cool.
own worst critic.
Always. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's a whole retraining too, is to not
Sure.
the negative self-talk and not be that person that's always putting ourselves down, or that,
That would be
thinking
hard
less of
to be
ourselves.
leading by example with that, I think, because we're all guilty of it, right?
Right.
I see that with my kids. I'm like, I have to not be negative talk towards myself
Yeah.
if I want them to not be that way,
Yeah.
right? So it's got to be, one more thing where you're going to be disciplined so that you can show your athletes in the gym, or the people in the program, like, this is tough. I want to yell at myself for making that mistake right now, but I'm trying to remember to talk to myself in this certain way. You're like kind of showing them the process, as it's tricky.
Yeah. Well, and the flip side of that is you also have to show accountability, right?
Yeah.
You're not the victim.
Right.
It's like, oh, I did do that. I did say that. That was old
I can
behavior.
own
I
it.
recognize it. I
Yeah.
own it. Thank you for pointing that out so I
Yeah.
can like change that.
Right.
Because I think that's another trap that we see, is this victimhood,
Yes.
and when you label yourself a victim, or I have this disease, or I have this
Yeah.
condition, then you're no longer causative over it, because you've just already thrown in the towel. Like,
And
what can I do?
it's happening to me.
Yeah, it's happening
Yeah.
to me, not
And then
because of me.
everything in life is happening to you.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Is what I often see.
Yes.
It snowballs
Yes.
into that. Yeah. That's something I talk about a lot with my kids, or even even my athletes. Like, you're deciding to do this workout.
Yeah.
I'm not forcing it on you.
Exactly.
Like, this is the
Exactly.
choice. You got up today and you decided to do these things, and you're deciding to be on the sport team. And that comes with, whatever requirements that you have to fulfill in terms of training and whatnot. So, yeah, I think that is a huge mindset shift for people. And another one that I find is, I'm sure it's always been around, but it feels bigger now, that victim mentality.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm seeing it younger and younger. I see it moving through generations,
Mm-hmm.
handing down.
Mm-hmm.
It's exhausting to be around.
It is.
And it's hard to teach my kids when they see it in others. And it's easy to mimic also,
100%, especially when that's
Yeah.
the majority of your peers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we try to call that out, but it's tough.
It is tough, because again, we're fighting, the pharmaceutical company saying you do have all these conditions, but we have the solution. It's
Right.
these pills. Now it has all these side effects, but don't worry, we have pills for those
Don't
too.
listen to those. We're going to say those really fast at the end. Don't listen to
Exactly. Death, anal
Yeah,
bleeding. I'm
yeah.
like, oh my God, who would want to take this?
How are these
side
actual
effects.
things? How did
I
this get
have
cleared?
those things, like what?
Who looked at that list and was like, thumbs up? Put that one through.
Yeah. A
My
lot of
God.
people who don't
Yeah.
listen to that list
Super
of things,
scary.
they just hear of like this other things. But again, it is that what has happened in our society with the victim culture.
Yeah.
You have these things, we have the solution. It's medication, it's don't leave your house, it's take it easy, quit being so hard on yourself, accept yourself for whoever you are.
Right.
So there's no
All
accountability.
things are correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody gets a trophy.
Yes, and you're a victim of your circumstance. Let us
Exactly.
treat you like a victim. That way
It's
you don't have to
so
be
strange.
caused. Yeah,
Yeah. To break someone out of that has got to be really hard.
it is.
It's just, there's no one path, I would think. It's like, just, well, again, more consistency, maybe.
More consistency. And I think there gets to be a breaking point where
Yeah.
they're at a place where what I've been doing isn't working.
They're ready.
All these things that I've seen that were supposed to make me better have actually made me worse.
Yeah.
Maybe now I'm ready for change.
Yeah. That's a really tough one.
Yeah. But again, then comes in all the hard work, right?
Right. You're like, yeah, we didn't actually do anything. Yeah. We just acknowledged that this is the problem. You recognized it. That's
Yeah.
called step one.
Yes, exactly. Now the work begins.
Wow.
Right.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
Well, I hate to cut this short, but I know
No.
we want to head up to the center and
Yes,
see
I'm so excited.
everybody doing the open.
Oh my gosh, so great.
I know.
I'm getting
I
more
know.
nervous about it, but it'll be good to cheer some other people on first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you'll see it because again, you know, the people that we have between our staff and our clients are very new in it. They're taking their wins where they can get them.
Oh, I love it.
And pushing and just seeing the joy on their face as those neurotransmitters are firing again, as those endorphins are coming back to life that have been dormant and numbed for so long. Just seeing that come back in people, it's like magic. It's so amazing.
I love it.
I know.
Let's do it.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.